Hey everybody, it's GobletX, and welcome back to another early access premiere draft of The Brothers War, the next Magic the Gathering set coming to Arena. I'd like to thank Wizards of the Coast once again for providing me with this early access account. Everything you see me playing with and drafting today was provided to me by Wizards of the Coast. Without further ado, let's get into this draft. This will be my fourth draft of the format. So still very, very new, as I will be for all the early access drafts. But let's see what we got here. I think we've got a pretty good rare, great interaction. It does lock us into two colors, being white and black, but exiling a non-land permanent, and if we're exiling a token, exiling all of the tokens, seems pretty dang sweet. I have like Rust Goliath a lot. It's just a really fun dream to try to live, getting to that 10 mana to play a 10/10 reach trample. But we'll do something a little different here. I think I'm going to start with the Legions to Ashes. There's also a giant Cinder Maw. This looks pretty good. 3 mana, 4/3 Trampler. Players can't gain life. Lots of stuff all over the place in the pack. That's pretty cool. Ooh, Sardian Cliff Stomper. This is the kind of card that you need to plant your feet down immediately and go very, very, very draft very hard around this card. Try to play a mono red deck with like 2 copies of this. This is the kind of card that you're really sad when it shows up in pack 3 because then it's really hard to build around. But if you can go mono red, having on turn 4, a 2 mana, essentially 4/4 as it attacks is ridiculously good. So I might take Cliff Stomper here. There's no way I get to play Cliff Stomper and Legions to Ashes in the same deck, but this is like a really fun build around. My dream in this format is probably going to be going after these monocolor decks way more often than I should, and I'm going to try to go for it towards mono red here, maybe. Mask of the Jadecrafter has been pretty nice, getting multiple XXs because it has that Unearth ability to bring it back one time and do it again. That's been pretty cool. Lay Down Arms is pretty efficient removal. Yeah, maybe I just stick to white-black removal for now. Yeah, this is a card. Yeah, all right. I don't have to be that hard or that deep into white for this card to be good, right? Because if we just play this on, turn 6 or whatever, and we have 3 planes out, we're still exiling a 3 mana card for only 1 mana. Our opponent gets to gain some life, but still seems like a pretty good deal. Mishra's Foundry is not horrible. Little man land action here, little creature land action. 2 mana to turn your land into a 2/2. Fits into pretty much anything. This returns anything except a creature from the graveyard to the battlefield, which is probably not playable in limited. Probably a little narrow there. Sigil of Valor seems relatively bad unless you're going really wide. Emergency Weld's a very good value card. Maybe we just take that in black-white here. Basically 2 mana for a 1/1 that returns any artifact or creature from your graveyard to hand, so a really cheap version of Gravedigger. I'm going to go Emergency Weld over the land there, but the land seemed pretty cool as well as an option. Strongest cards in this pack are blue. I like the Spotter Thopter a lot. 4 mana for a 2/3 flyer Scry 2, or 8 mana for a 4/5 flyer Scry 4. Wing Commando is another great blue card. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer with Prowess. Just a really good rate there. Yeah, these blue cards are sick. The black and white cards are okay. A Carrion Locust gives you some graveyard hate, and Recommission is great if you have a lot of really good 3 mana value and less creatures. You can really build your deck where this card's going to play well. Got by that a lot. I might go for the Spotter Thopter here, though. Maybe move towards blue-black. Seems like a pretty great value play at either mana cost. Ashnod's Altar, fantastic reprint. Not going to be great for us here, though. Desynchronize seems fine. Blanchwood Armor's fun if you're super heavy into green. Not super great, just super fun. Carrion Locust gives you some graveyard hate, which is fine. Yeah, we could just take a Carrion Locust here, stick to black-white for now. It's a mana value 3 or less card, which is what the archetype is trying to hit. A lot of mana value 3 or less creatures. As we've seen from that other card we passed up on, the Recommission. Okay, here we go, pick 6. We've got an Evolving Wilds, mana fixing for any deck. This could help us splash in a Spotter Thopter if we're just white-black with a couple islands. Energy Refractor is another card that's really good for helping you splash stuff in. because it draws a card and replaces itself immediately. Stone retrieval unit's been pretty fine. 4 mana for a 2/3 and a Powerstone. Savant seems like a pretty good activated ability to use Power Stones on. Paratrooper is actually pretty good looking as well. 2 mana for a 1/2 flash flyer with a good late game activated ability. Not seem horrible. Yeah, let's keep with the mana value 3 or less, like white-black reanimator sort of strategy here. See if we can get that deck going. Firebomb's like a lot of mana. The idea here is that you get a bunch of Power Stones to use that 7 mana ability a little earlier. Still kind of hard to get there. Gix's Caress, a fine little discard spell. Military Discipline. 1 mana +1/+0 first strike till end of turn, and then a permanent +1/+0. That's like okay. This format is potentially a little grindy. I've played against a lot of aggro though, so I don't know how much I love Millstone, especially for this deck. I think I am going to take Stern Lesson. I think this is one of the best cards in that pack. Instant speed, 2 mana, discard a card, make a Power Stone. Seems pretty good. If that Power Stone is generally worth a card, then it's kind of like instant speed divination. So if your deck can use Power Stones well, that's pretty nice. Chromatic Star is nice. It just cycles you. You just cycle it and draw a card, get whatever color mana you need for the turn. Not horrible. Tower Workers, whatever. Whole pack's pretty whatever at this point. I'll just take a Chromatic Star, it's fun. It's a retro frame artifact, which is really cool. We did wheel the Rust Goliath, which is cool, but this deck is definitely not doing Rust Goliath things. I can tell you that much for almost certain right now. Don't think we're doing depth charge Colossus things either. 1 mana, 1/1 first strike, you can exile from your grave to scry 2. That still feels pretty unplayable. Doesn't feel like enough impact to make up for that. I'm just going to take a Rust Goliath, and we're probably not playing it, but maybe we get some reanimator cards that can resurrect any creature regardless of mana cost, and then we just try to bring a 10/10 back from grave for 5 mana or something like that. Take a Scrapwork cohort now, 4 mana for a 3/1 and a 1/1, and when you unearth it, you get another 1/1. Energy Refractor also fine here. It's kind of the worst Prophetic Prism. But Prophetic Prism was like really good and limited, so this card's probably still solid. Deadly Riposte, good against cheap creatures. Little small stuff, gain a little life in the early game, it's fine. I played against a few copies of it. Did some things to me. Mask of the Jadecrafter, maybe just green ramp nonsense is actually open. I'm going to take a speculative pick here. We get a really late Rust Goliath and a really late Mask of the Jadecrafter. Maybe we get to push towards that green ramp deck, and Tower Worker will work in there, and none of these other cards are super playable. Definitely not in our black-white deck. Nonsense here. I'll throw a Recluse in the green pile if we can get there. Another card for the green pile. Maybe green's where we're headed. Pack 2, pick 1. What do we have now? Couple interesting choices. We have Lauren, Disciple of History, which is a very cool card. Return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand when you cast her. 4 mana, 3/3. So it's like a artifact Gravedigger, but a little better, because if you get any other legends on the board, you're getting another artifact back from the graveyard to hand, so that's very cool. Disciples of Gix is cool for working with all of the Unearth cards in the set, but I think we have a massive amount of Unearth right now, but it also does work with Graveyard Synergy in general, so that's a cool card. I think I'm going to go Lauren here. Kayla's Reconstruction is another card that really incentivizes you to run a million, like, artifacts and creatures mana value 3 or less, but this is also a really hard mana cost. You gotta get triple white and then X. This is a really weird card. I have no idea how to evaluate, so I'm kind of just ignoring it for now until I have it like played against me, and then if it like completely blows me out of the water, then I guess I'll start considering it. But I don't want to just like start playing that card blind. It's a hard sell. Soul Partition seems really, really bad. I guess it's like 2 mana, return target creature to its owner's hand, and that creature costs 2 more to cast now. For any non-land permanent? Maybe that's not actually that bad. I don't know why it feels so bad in my head, because it like looks like removal, but it's not permanent removal. That's probably why it feels so bad. Disenchant's good in the format, plenty of massive artifacts, some good enchantments as removal spells. Disciples of Gix, great with the Unearth cards like Scrapwork Rager. We don't have a lot of great ones yet. I kind of want to take Rager, and maybe we can get lucky and wheel all the Disciples. And then we've got like the really good Unearth synergies going. That would be awesome. Fauna Shaman, I forgot they reprinted Fauna Shaman in this set. Fauna Shaman's like my favorite 2-mana 2/2 of all time. It's just an incredible activated ability. 1 mana, tap it, discard a creature card, search your library for any creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So when you get to like turn 7 and you draw your 2 mana 2/2, you just spend 1 mana, discard it, and say, no, I drew my 6 mana 6/6 trample instead. Such a good tutor, such an excellent card, but we're not really in that direction. I mean, I could completely pivot here, but I don't think our green's as good as our white-black, and there's a pretty great card for the white-black deck here, Recruitment Officer. A 1 mana 2/1 with a very good activated ability to draw more cheap creatures from your deck. I've quite enjoyed the Recruitment Officer, and I'm going to take it again here. Wow, there's Disciples of Gix everywhere. So we should almost definitely wheel at least one of them. I don't think anybody wants to play 3 copies of that. So let's grab a 2 mana 2/2 in here. We need to fill out our curve. Moment of Defiance is also an okay trick. But I'll take the 2 mana 2/2. Prison Sentence is an excellent removal spell, making it so a creature can't attack, block, or use its activated abilities, and scrying 2 at the same time. Really good card, we'll take that there. Other cards on color don't look great. Disfigure is a very efficient removal spell as well that works as a combat trick later in the game. So you kill your opponent's 2 toughness creatures early on. Once they play stuff that's too big, you use this in the middle of combat to help beat a larger creature. So flexible, very powerful instant. Happy to play it. Evolving Wilds here in case we do splash in some blue. Evangel's Synthesis is a way to help with that as well. Or not a way to help with that, but another thing that we could be splashing in. So Emergency Weld is kind of a creature, but it's not going to be played turn 2, so I'll just put it with the non-creatures here. I think I will take an Evolving Wilds. I don't think anything in this pack looks super awesome. Don't have a lot of ways to use Powerstone, so the retrieval unit doesn't seem great. Juggernaut wants red mana. Gixian Infiltrator, we don't have a ton of sacrifice going on either, I think. I don't think there's any right now. But 2 mana 2/1 for now. The only other card is Union of the Third Path. We should probably be in blue here. Wing Commando and Urza, those are pretty good cards. A little early in the draft format to be good enough to make pivots. I'm kind of just locked in at this point. 4 1/1s are Disciples of Gix. Well, I'm just going to have 3 copies of Disciples of Gix, I guess. And then we'll just take everything that synergizes with them, and then we know what we're doing turn 6 every game. Just make sure our deck has like 10 Unearth cards. Just take anything in black or white that says Unearth on it, and that's what we're doing. That's our plan. We'll just see what happens with it. Should be interesting to test it out, I guess. Should be interesting to try it out. This pack looks pretty bad. A lot of filler commons. Nothing for us here. I'll just take this land, but I don't think I'm going to play a land that taps for colorless. It is a good activated ability, though. And here's the 3rd Disciples of Gix that we knew that we would wheel. Just make sure we get tons and tons of the unearthing artifacts. And that's kind of our game plan, is just play Disciples of Gix on turn 6. This is really late for Take Flight. I think this card actually looks pretty good. if you can guarantee you get that first card draw out of it so you can't get 2 for 1. And then it's one of these cards, it's like a big removal check. If your opponent doesn't have removal for it, they're just going to lose really, really quickly. So you're now drawing an extra card every turn, and you turn something into a big flyer. It's winning on multiple fronts there. Ooh, one of the biggest bombs in the format, Helm of the Host. You just slap this thing onto absolutely anything in absolutely any deck, and you're going to get a million copies of that thing and pretty quickly start winning the game. So I'm going to take Helm of the Host here quite easily. There are other great cards in here, a Scrapwork Rager, another Lauren, but Helm of the Host is absurd. Ridiculous magic card that nobody else is going to pass, so we're just going to take it. Ooh, we got a red rare Feldon, the original Feldon. That's very cool, but we're not in red here. Goring Warplow seems pretty nice for our deck. 2 mana for a 1/1 Death Toucher, or 6 mana for a 5/4 Death Touch. Nice flexible card. Between that and like a Disenchant, I guess we have the Takaji's Onulet, and we do have triple Disciples of Gix. So I do need kind of anything that says Unearth on it. Whatever, we're just gonna take the card that says Unearth. When you have 3 copies of the Disciples, like, yeah, we need 1,000 Unearth cards. Gigamol's got some cool graveyard synergies, but there's also just a straight up Unearth card, so we'll take the Cohort, I guess. Yep, I'm going to stop drafting with any sort of strategy in mind. I'm just going to take everything that says the word Unearth on it and hope for the best, cross the fingers. I need 2 more cards to finish up this deck. We're at 21 non-lands and 1 land in here. I want some more 2s and 3s, but there's not a lot of cheap cards that Unearth, especially in white and black. The cheapest Unearth cards are like the blue one that unearths for a single mana, and the red one that unearths for 2. Feels like they specifically made the black and white ones some of the worst Unearth cards because they have so much graveyard mill and so much synergy with the Unearth. Clay Revenant is pretty great value with Disciples of Gix and the Altar, and I think the last time I drafted this set, the Altar went like last pick. So if we can wheel the Altar, Clay Revenant Altar is a great synergy, and Clay Revenant Disciples is a good synergy. Altar with Unearth is good too. I think I'd take Clay Revenant, weirdly. There's also a Warplow, which is great, and Altars. It's hard. Altar, Revenant, and Warplow all look great here. But I'm going to go with the Revenant. We're going to get as cheeky as possible and make sure every single pick works with the Disciples. It doesn't look like anything here works particularly well with Disciples. I guess Gigamole, theoretically. But we have a lot of 4 mana stuff already, so I don't think I want that. But am I going to play a second Tower Worker? I mean, maybe. Kind of just clutters up the board a little bit. Emergency Weld is good when we've got all these Disciples. Filling our graveyard with nonsense to pick up later. Ooh, Gruesome Realization's awesome. Wow, this is a really, really good pack. Goring Warplow and Gruesome Realization also. Draw 2 and lose 2, or make all of your opponent's creatures get -1 or -1. So sometimes your opponent has a bunch of 1/1s and you kill them all. Sometimes you just draw some cards. I do feel a little low on like good cheap creatures, so I'm actually gonna go Warplow over Realization, but I think that card's very good. Remember, 1 or more artifact and or creatures leave your graveyard during your turn. Put a counter on a creature you control. Seems like a kind of bad build around, but we're the deck for it. We've got the Unearth, and none of these other cards are playable for us. We'll try it out. Maybe it'll outperform my expectations, but 2 mana, you're not doing anything initially. Really need to get cards synergizing with it, and even then you need a lot of cards before you're getting like a huge value off of it. Like 2 mana to put 2 +1/+1 counters on the board is just like at rate. That's not great. 2 mana to get 3 +1/+1 counters on the board is like, okay, that's a solid card. That card doesn't feel like it pays off until you've done its ability 4 times. Like that's where you're like, okay, I'm really happy with this. And that just is going to take forever. And there's going to be games where you almost never do that. And it's really, really bad. Take the medic here. It fits in the curve better than the Gigamole, even though the Gigamole does some graveyard nonsense. Alright, well, I feel like I maybe should have been like the blue-black draw 2 deck or something here, because we were getting some good black stuff, like the War Plows in that pack, the Gruesome Realization. White, we haven't really gotten anything great in white since like pack 1, but we did see a good amount of blue throughout the draft. So if I had a little more experience with this format, this might have been a draft where pivot to blue-black would have been great. Be the blue-black draw 2 deck here. But this is the deck that we're playing with today. This is what we've got. Let's cut 6 cards out of here and call it a deck. All right, we did not wheel the altar, so we don't have any sacrifice effects, I think. So the Infiltrator just is a 2 mana 2/1 that does nothing. We don't have a lot to ramp into, so the Tower Workers are not great. Three more cards to cut. Chromatic Star is very filler. Union of the Third Path is also very filler. And then we have one more card to cut to complete the deck. 16-8. I really want to cut Thran Vigil. I think this card's going to be horrible, but I do want to play it out and see if it does anything at least once here. I mean, I guess we can check right now. How do I search for... Oh, it's Oracle text. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 Unearth cards, and 1 card that recurs itself from grave, Clay Revenant. Yeah. No, you need to be so deep on the recurring things from graveyard strategy for this to do anything. That this isn't even the deck that I think it's bad in. This is the deck that I think is just unplayable in. I feel like if I had like 7 Unearth cards and 2 Clay Revenants, then I'd be like, all right, this is the deck where I think that this is bad, but I will try it. But I have way less than even that, so we will cut that Thran Vigil and call it a deck. Alright, here we are with the final build of today's deck. This is going to be a black-white graveyard recursion kind of value deck. It's kind of a pile, I'm not going to lie. This is my least favorite deck that I've drafted so far in the Brothers War Early Access event. I just think these colors didn't end up being super open. I just kind of got married to my first pick and went from there, which is what I do really early on in the format when I don't know the cards super well. Unfortunately, this is the time that I think it panned out the worst for us. Some very filler kind of 2-drops. I do like the War Plows. Some filler 3-drops. Even the 4-drops feel pretty filler. Most of the deck feels pretty filler. Few Unearth synergies to work with triple Disciples of Gix. That's kind of the biggest combo we have going on. The biggest piece of synergy, the biggest game plan at all, is that on turn 6, we can pretty frequently cast the Disciples of Gix to get a few Unearthers in the grave and try to get a lot of value off of that to turn the game in our favor. So that is our main goal with this deck, is to turn 3 Disciples of Gix. Yeah, and then we have some random removal, Prison Sentence, Legions to Ashes, Disfigure, Lay Down Arms, some decent removal here. We've got 8 planes so that the Lay Down Arms works better a little more often. We do have double Evolving Wilds to make sure we're hitting that double black we need for the Disciples on turn 6. So pretty great mana base all around, and we do have a bomb. Helm of the Host can take over games even on just complete nonsense creatures. But yeah, we'll see how this deck pans out. This is the one I'm the most unsure about. This is the one I would actually expect to maybe 0-3 with, but I'm going to do my best. Maybe we can still get a nice positive win rate. We'll find out as we head into the gameplay. All right, here we go. Game 1. We're getting off the ground pretty aggressive here with a Phalanx Vanguard turn 2. An ambush paratrooper. Maybe we get to ambush a 1/1 that attacks in. Play a 1/2 and block it immediately. Probably doesn't happen. Well, we've got a good curve here. We're making it to 4 mana to cast this Scrapwork cohort, get a 3/1 and a 1/1 on the board. Hopefully all these just medium cards, these mediocre cards, just slap together into a decent enough curve to find a victory here. So far our opponent has just played a couple Swamps. Now an Ichor Wellspring, very nice card from the Retro Framed Artifacts. Draws a card when it comes to play and when it leaves play. So this is a really cool one for the black-red deck, because the black-red sacrifice deck in this format can sacrifice artifacts for value. And there are also just mono-black cards that can sacrifice the artifacts for value. So this should be a pretty fun card to slap in your decks in the format. Very cool choice for a reprint there. Get the Ambush Paratrooper in. Play more planes for our Laydown Arms. We're going to play the Scrapwork Cohort. I'm going to cast it right now so the Phalanx Vanguard attacks for more damage. Getting the extra power trigger here. And we will be hitting for 5 damage if our opponent does not cast a Disfigure or something. If they have a Disfigure though, pretty easily just going to slam that onto the Phalanx Vanguard. Go for the Throat. Okay, pretty okay with that. I'm not exactly happy with it, but I'm not massively unhappy like I would have been with Disfigure, because Disfigure is the kind of removal that's just -2/-2, so it could only really kill something as big as the Vanguard. With Go for the Throat, if I get like a bigger fleshy creature, a bigger non-artifact creature later, then it's nice that we got that out of the way at least. 2/3 blocker from our opponent. We can definitely still get in with the Cohort. That's probably the play here. Cohort and Paratrooper attack in. Go ahead and have the 5th mana up to use Paratrooper's ability if something really weird happens, but I don't think I'm using that. Okay. I guess I could have laid down Arms, but my opponent gains 3 there anyway, and this has Unearth to bring it back. Like a Weld Vanguard. Yeah, this seems pretty decent to me. Because now if I need to lay down Arms next turn, I can play Rager and lay down Arms. And if I don't, I can just play a lot of artifacts with Scrapwork Cohort, get the huge damage swing from the Vanguard. Looks like I don't. I guess I'm going to go for that big damage swing here by playing the Cohort, getting 2 artifacts onto the board, getting 2 triggers from Vanguard. And this is going to leave me with 3 1/1s on the board, so if Paratrooper sticks around, that 5 mana ability is getting very spicy. Give my whole board +1/+1 until end of turn. Alright, Go for the Throat, copy number 2 on the same card, the Vanguard. Get our opponent down to 10 and pass the turn. Got very good removal now. We have Legions to Ashes and Lay Down Arms. I guess this was a 4 mana card anyway. I only had 3 planes, so I couldn't have exiled it in the first place. Not now that I think of it. Yeah, this is actually not going to exile much, so we're probably Legions to Ashing whatever our opponent plays. Killzone, and never mind. Lay Down Arms can absolutely exile that, and we have exactly enough mana to do that and play Cohort this turn, which seems like a pretty good use of our mana. Our opponent does gain 3 life, but they're immediately going to take that damage. And we'll play the Cohort. Very wide board state once again with Paratrooper's 5 mana ability. We can give everything +1/+1. Attack for lethal next turn. It might blow up the Paratrooper here. Yeah, corrupt the Paratrooper, gain a ton of life. That explains the mono black corrupt, a very powerful build around for a mono black strategy. Go ahead and drop the Rager first and see if we draw into anything cheap to cast. We do not, so I'll play the Evolving Wilds. Pass the turn. I'm going to crack the Evolving Wilds before the draw step so that there's 1 less land in the deck to draw. And they're just going to scoop them up. That is going to be game. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage on board. Opponent must be out of interaction. We do take a win with this deck. We are going to be 1-0 to start it off. Here we are in game 2. We are against day 9. Day9 used to do a series called Spell Slingers on YouTube that is very enjoyable to watch if you've never seen it, where Day9 just plays Magic with like the pre-constructed decks against a wide variety of people, like actors, podcasters, LSV, stuff like that. Anybody in the public sphere. Very fun show. I guess we're trading vanguards here. Seems like a thing. Alright. This might be a little greedy, but I'm just going to sit here and wait to see if I can get to 6 mana to play these as 5/4s. Recruitment officer, okay. Aggressive stuff from day 9. I'm going to play Scrapwork Rager now. We do it the 5th land. I'm only 1 land away from getting to the 6 mana. Day 9 is stuck on mono white, but does have 3 mana. Ooh, and a Warlord's Elite for cheap. Got the 5 mana now to play this Onulet. 1 mana away from some War Plows. Oh, you gain the life when this leaves the battlefield. Okay. I misread that card. But here we go, 6 mana for War Plow. Probably supposed to just Helm right now and then play a Death Touching War Plow. And then I get an attack in with a Vanguard, and I'm set up to equip a Helm next turn. And I think I want to equip the Helm to the Onulet, so I don't actually want to attack in with that right now. I think that the token of whatever you copy copies whatever you played the card as. So I think if I put it on the War Plow, it just makes 1/1 Death Touchers. I think. I guess I could just do it for science. I'm pretty sure, but I'll just do it for science. Science time? If I just put this on Onulet, I'm just going to win, period. But science time. Okay, it does just give you the version, the Death Touchers. That is what I thought. But now we know for sure. So if it ever comes up for any of you, you now know with 100% certainty, you just get a copy of the prototype version, not the full mana cost version. I did make Day 9 exile the Death Toucher there at least. Blitz Automaton, okay, that's a thing, sure. And slam the Helm onto this Onulet now, and we'll be fine. Play another Death Toucher. Move to combat, have a 4/2 Vanguard that's going to trade off with their Vanguard probably at this point. Helm of the Host just doing its thing. So Allegiance to Ashes. Unfortunately, it only exiles all tokens with the same name, not all cards with the same name, so I don't get to exile both Warlords Elites with that. But that would have been a pretty cool thing if it did. Looks like we are just going to ride on to victory off the back of a Helm of the Host, one of the biggest bombs in Magic's history in terms of artifact bombs. From Original Dominaria there. Sick, sick card. 2-0 as we head into Game 3. Alright, here we are in Game 3. We can Evolving Wilds for the Swamp. Locust turn 3, Rager turn 4, Lauren for later. Once we've got an artifact in the grave, we'll go for it. We will go for it. Got a War Plow if I really want to play a 2-drop. Yeah. With a Lauren in hand, this is pretty appealing, because then we just trade this off aggressively and bring it back to hand to cast it later. That is not an Unearth card, but I will still exile it with the Locust, because I'm going to play my most expensive card this turn. Tomacool Scrapsmith. Mills 3 cards, can put an artifact that they milled back into hand, and they did mill 2 options, one of which has Unearth, so they probably pick up that, yeah, that one there. Trade Warplow and a Scrapsmith, pick it up with Lauren. Seems like pretty good value to me. Can also just exile the Scrapsmith to get out of the way, but it's only getting 1 more damage in every turn anyway. Probably just play Rager as well, set up my draws. Yeah, I'm not anywhere near the 6 mana I need for Warplow right now anyway to replay it. Let's just play a Rager and hit with Locust for now. Alright, I've got 5 mana, so next turn's a fine turn to just trade off a Warplow. And then bring it back to hand, setting up for a turn 6 Warplow. Alright, they are going to unearth the Scrapwork Mutt, discard a land, and draw a card. And hit us for 2. Mutt gets exiled, and they're just passing the turn there. Alright. Yeah, set up for the Warplow to get returned here. I'll trade with Rager, that's fine too. I will pick up the Rager then, I guess. I mean, I can always just unearth it, but... yeah, I'll just get it to permanently stick around on the board here. That did not go how I wanted it to. Next turn I can recast Rager and play Paratrooper at least. Go for the throat on Lauren. That's depressing. Flavor text there. When Titania offered Urza peace, Urza merely turned her down. Mishra made her people pay for the insult. Just went ham on Tatiana's people. Or Titania's people. Tatiana's a regular name. Titania's the magic name. Okay, they've got a Blitz Automaton and a 2/2 menace now. It's kind of whatever. Still got the aggressive lead here. Just go cohort Paratrooper. Good trade into the Automaton. Get more aggro dorks on the board. And the trade of Warplow into Stoneseeker is pretty good for us because we kill their Mana Stork and their Powerstone. That is what this card's ability is. Makes a Powerstone you keep for as long as you keep the Stoneseeker. It's such a cute card too. It's like a little lizard just carrying some just Spyro looking gems. It's so cute. That's one of my favorite cards in the set so far. It's such an efficient way to get a Powerstone. And the artwork is absolutely adorable and reminds me of Spyro the Dragon, so pretty phenomenal. What more could you ask for? That is very, 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 very bad. They make their Menace card a 4/4 lifelink Menace and destroy pretty much all my dorks. That kind of completely flipped the table here. Only has lifelink till end of turn, but I think I still do the double block trade. Pop the Powerstone, get that out of here. And we're no longer on the aggressive because they gained a ton of life. Now we are kind of at parity, trying to play a long game and grind out a bunch of value. Which luckily we have a Scrapwork Rager for just that kind of game. Honulet is fine. Just while I have the mana, I might as well get my 1/1. And pass the turn. Alright. Things could really go either way here. It depends how good my opponent's hand is after the Gix's command. If it's not great, like we have some solid stuff to keep playing, so if my opponent's hand is bad, then we're in a really good spot. Ooh, it's raining a lot. It is pounding the roof now. That is exciting. I love that. Oh, Carrion Locust. That's really sad. Ooh, Gixian Skullflayer. I am so glad I can exile that, because otherwise this is going to absolutely take over the game. It gets another +1/+1 counter every single turn, so we need to kill that thing. Honestly, we probably have to kill that more than we need to kill their flyer. The flyer kills us in 5 attacks. This is going to get too big for us to attack into. Relatively quickly. Alright, we're playing off the top now. We need to hit something good. If our opponent has something in hand, we need to hit something good. Technically on board, we outrace our opponent. Because we kill them in 3 attacks, they kill us in 5. But our opponent gets the first draw step, and they have a card in their hand that we don't know about. So I'm guessing it's not going to go great for us. Yeah, Disciples of Gix off the top. Pretty devastating. They get to pick up 3 Unearth cards, and highly unlikely they don't just kill us here. Oh, they just pick 1 Unearth card. 1 nice little 8/6 menace. You know how it is. Unearths for 8 mana, so they need to play a land next turn, but if they do, we are quite dead to an 8/6 menace. I suppose I play around them playing a basic land by just passing turn, double blocking the 8/6 menace, and not quite dying. But that pretty much costs us the game, because now we can't attack anymore. So we're not applying any pressure back at our opponent. Not actively seeking to win, we're just seeking to survive. Not a great spot to be. And there is the land drop. So unearth the 8/6 menace, attack with everybody. No, they're gonna blow up the Onulet. Alright. Sure. That is an option. Alright, and now we are very dead, because the center's tapped, so I have no way to get 2 blockers on board. I think that's 1-1. I think actually it's 2-1 because we won a game off of Helm of the Host, got the free win there. So 2-1 as we head into game 4. All right, here we are on the play now with a very, very nice hand. Turn 1 Recruitment Officer, and we have our best late game play, the Disciples of Gix, to go ahead and grab some Unearth cards, put them in our grave. We've got 2 of them now. Oh, we are doing some great late game things. I'm gonna just play the Warplow now, because we definitely don't need a third 6 mana card to cast with the double Disciples. Mono red so far from our opponent, a 1/3 Ward 2. Ward 2 life prowess is really annoying for us. Because a 1/3 against our 2/1 is not fun. Alright. This is where things could start to fall apart. We need to hit a land pretty badly, or else we are doing nothing with our turn, and even if we hit a land, all we can do is activate Recruitment Officer's ability. We need to get to the 6 mana we need for the Disciples, especially since we drew a second Disciples this game, which is pretty rough. 2 6-drops in the early game can be a pretty risky start to the game. Just don't know for sure if we're going to make it there. Uh-oh, this might be just mono red all non-creature spells all day. Did hit a land there, which is great. That is my second black source, but it is a come into play tapped land, which is sad. So we don't get to use Recruitment Officer's ability this turn. So this is for 2 mana. It becomes a 1/1 till end of turn. Becomes a 1/1 flyer. Every non-creature spell they cast puts a +1/+1 counter on this. So it becomes a pretty big flyer. Pretty quickly. Oh, the weather is so weird today. The rain is just like off and on. It was like raining super hard and then it was dead silent for a while and then now it's doing it again. I really like rainy days, if you can't tell. Big fan. Big fan, except when I have to walk. When I have to walk or drive somewhere. When I'm just chilling at home, it's the best feeling. Alright, second black source for the disciples, and now we're only 1 mana away, let's go. Here's an Onulet. 4/4 that gains couple life when it leaves play. Oh, it's gonna get exiled here. Luckily for us, even when it gets exiled, we do gain the life, but getting exiled is super rough because we don't get the Unearth. Prowess the 2/4 in. I mean, it really doesn't feel like we've been doing all that much this game, but our opponent is sitting at 13, so like we've gotten somewhere, and they only have 2 cards in hand. We could still get there once we hit these disciples. Even just blank 4/4s for 6 are pretty good on this board state. Problem is we have ran out 2 of our Unearth cards, so we're probably pretty low on cards to mill with the disciples for any value. But we could search for 0, so we just put every Unearth card in the grave and then just chill. Alright, Levitating Statue is going to start getting in. Looks like it's going to be 3 damage a turn at this point. And there we go. Disciples are castable. My opponent seems to have an instant here that they're going to use to kill my cohort without losing a creature. It'll be good to get it out of the way anyway, before I drop disciples down. So I'll take it. They could just be... Yeah, Arena will always wait and tell them that they can activate the statue though, so they could not have a spell right now. Yeah, it looks like that was just for if they wanted to activate the statue maybe. They could sack the Powerstone to win this fight. But we do get rid of that Powerstone permanently. And cohort's not like doing any massive blocking or anything. Alright, cool. Here's disciples. And now let's see what we've got. Unearth, Unearth, reanimate effects. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool value. I'll take it. Once again, apologies for the Discord boops. I am in the early access Discord right now. Once again, thank you very much to Wizards of the Coast for providing me with this early access account. But you are going to hear some Discord boops here and there. It's probably not you. I'll try to inform you whenever I hear a Discord boop so you don't have to check. Okay. So they're at 11 life and I can just go burr. I mean, that seems pretty fun. I'm just going to go for it. Unearthing 3 power creatures is like super nice here, because their creatures have 3 toughness, and they no longer have a really expendable artifact on board. They can sack the statue to keep the strongbow alive, but I'm killing stuff that actually matters permanently now. And if they go block, block, they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I'm actually just going to attack with everybody at this point. I still have 2 1/1s to chump chump if I need. So if they block like that, they take 11, so I'm pretty cool with that. They might have removal spells, though, at instant speed. Burn spells. Looks like they do not. They're going to go down to 3 life against a pretty wide board state and the ability to unearth. We can very, very much find lethal next turn, potentially, so we'll see what happens as we pass turn here. We are completely tapped out. Opponent can do whatever they want. We can't respond, but it's 13 life to 3 life. Looks like an 8 land for our opponent. Pretty rough. And they are going to scoop them up. We're going to find the win off the Disciples of Gix. The first time we ever got to cast our Disciples of Gix, and it's Unearth shenanigans really got there. Super, super cool stuff from that card, and now I'm pretty happy I've got 3 copies of it. This might be a spicier deck than I thought. Definitely just having Graveyard Recursion value and Unearth value, it pays dividends, even if the cards look pretty mediocre at face value, so very happy with the deck so far. At least a 3-win performance here, 3-1 as we head into Game 5. Game 5, we've got a Helm of the Host. If we can hit the mana to get that on board and equipped to something, we've seen how quickly that card can just take over a game, so pretty much a snap keep here. A 2-lander, I'd have to think about it. That would be a level of risk for sure. But a 3-lander, we're just going to roll with it. We just need to hit 1 land this game, and we can cast the majority of our hand. We do need to hit 2 lands to actually equip the host, the Helm, to something. But should be relatively reasonable to believe that we get there. And this is a good trade from our opponent because a 2-mana 2/2 Vigilance, it's like if they attack in, we can just choose to trade for it anyway. I think I'm going to play the Scrapwork Cohort here. And then Evolving Wilds turn 5 while I play another 4-drop. Feels like a pretty good spot to play the tap land. Now we even have Disciples, our second best card in the deck, behind Helm of the Host. So a really nice hand here, but there are some really crazy things you can do in this format. We might get blown out by some just monstrous stuff, but let's hope not as we slam down Helm of the Host and pass the turn. So yeah, if our opponent can't kill any of our stuff here, Helm of the Host, even just on a Scrapwork Cohort, is nuts. We get copies of our 3/1 that give us additional 1/1s and just make a monstrously wide board. What on earth is this? Enchanted creature gets +1/+1, flying, haste, and for 1 mana gets +1/+0 till end of turn. It's a dragon in addition to its other types, and when it dies, return it to its owner's hand. Oh, this is the I die combo. That is a flying, double-striking Falaji Chain Dancer. And if I can't draw removal for that, I'm going to die immediately. If I can, I'll be in a pretty good position, but I need to draw it in like a turn or 2. Now, I do have multiple removal spells in this deck that are good enough to kill that thing, but again, I die in like 1 more attack. Like literally, because I'm going to take 6 damage, go to 14. They only need to make it a 7-power creature, which they could afford if they have 6 mana out. They just dump 4 mana into it and then give double strike. Yeah, so they're going for it. They're going to put me to 14, and next turn, if they play a basic land, and I can't get a flyer or a removal spell, I'm just dead. So we're definitely thinning our deck out here, getting a land out of the way, and hoping we hit one of our removal spells. Disfigure's not a removal spell, but it keeps me barely alive. Problem is I can't equip the Helm and do that here. Guess I emergency weld the Phalanx Vanguard, play it, and disfigure when they go for the attack, because I need my 1 mana up. Alright, they play the land. They make the attack. No blocks. They double strike, we take 6. A giant growth. We take 12. A whirling strike. What is this deck? We take 16. We take 18. I still die because they just used a bunch of tricks instead. I got exact lethal there, even through the disfigure. They had giant growth whirling strike. Oh my god. That was a really cool way to die. Good gravy. Heading into game 6 now. Alright, here we are on the play for game 6. Great 2-drop, great way to recur it later, and the Disciples of Gix. See if we can't get some pretty nice action going here. We do need the double black. I'm just going to pop this for a swamp turn 1, get the tap land out of the way, so I have the mana to play my spells every other turn. 2-drop, 3-drop, and then maybe 2 mana to return and 2 mana to cast turn 4. If things head in that direction. Opponent is on red. They've played a Chromatic Star that they can use to filter a mana. Turn 1 mana into a mana of a different color and draw a card. Prison Sentence, pretty good draw. Solid removal. We've drawn 2 of the removal spells we could have used last game. Sad, RIP. I cry every time. Three mana from our opponent. They are mono red so far. But that Chromatic Star can get them out of that. 4/3 Trample. Players can't gain life. I have a little bit of life gain in this deck. Where that is a little annoying, so maybe I'm supposed to exile that instead of Prison Sentence it. Because the Amulet gains me life. Definitely supposed to kill it with something. A 4/3 Trample's really big on this board state. I can't attack into it and I won't be able to block it well. I'd have to double block it. I think I'm going to exile it and save Prison Sentence for something else, since that has a static ability that matters to me. Alright, Scrapwork Rager it is. That's going to be very good value against my Vanguard, because it'll trade off into it and then it'll unearth later. Here's our own Scrapwork Rager. Yeah, maybe a Prison Sentence on it wouldn't be horrible. The problem is our opponent's almost definitely red-black, because this has a black unearth ability. Yeah, I mean, we probably just have to take the trade. I don't think I'm going to be able to throw a Prison Sentence at that and expect that to work well. Red-black is a sacrifice archetype, so they can get value off of sacrificing a Prison Sentence creature still. So, that'd be a really bad spot to be. Alright, we're only 1 mana away from Disciples going wild. Recruitment Officer, Emergency Weld, and Vanguard all in 1 turn. Seems alright. It is spending a lot of my cards, but I have 2 Disciples of Gix to get even more cards coming up. Huge board state against the life total at, or the opponent at 13 life. Not really a huge board state, but a wide board state. Keeping that pressure on here. Opponent has kind of whatever colors they need, they just don't have a ton of mana, they only have 4 here. Where Chromatic Star gets them 1 mana of any color. The Refractor, they can spend 2 mana to get 1 mana of any color. Pendragon Strongbow. 3 mana, 2/3, that's pretty whatever. Probably just play Disciple to pass here. I mean, Prison Sentence is really tempting, because if I Prison Sentence, I'm hitting for 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have their life total and kill them on the next swing. I could still just attack with everybody, right? They just kill the Recruitment Officer and take 5. I still do a lot of damage, and I'm about to get a bunch more cards, so it's probably worth losing cards here just to pressure their life total, to get them to where they almost definitely attack in another attack. Or they almost definitely die in another attack, because we'll have plenty of Unearth cards to get extra hasting damage next turn. Alright, so they're down to 8, and here's the Disciples. We are going to grab Unearth card, Unearth card, Unearth card. That feels pretty great. If I hit a land, I can pick up the Onulet and the Cohort. If I don't, I can just pick up 2 Cohorts and just attack for 1,000,000 either way. My next Disciples gets to put my Clay Revenant into the graveyard for a little bit of value. Definitely nowhere near as much value as the first Disciples got here, but if the game goes long, a little extra bonus there. Alright, pop the Chromatic Star for a black source, draw a card. The really cool thing about Chromatic Star for the red-black sacrifice decks in this format is that you draw the card even if you didn't sacrifice it for mana. So if you sacrifice it to some other ability, you still draw the card. So another just really, really cool reprint for this limited format. They did just an excellent job with the retro artifacts all around. I haven't done the math, but I guess I will. 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think they have to block the Cohorts. Or the Onulet Cohort here. And they get really close to dying either way. Or they go down to 3 life. 3 life is the largest life total they can possibly go down to here. They could even end up going lower. Alright, so they're going to go to 2. Probably should have taken the Cohort, because getting another 1/1's probably... I mean, it is significantly better than the 2 life that I gained there. It was just a little bit more mana efficient to do it that way, but that probably wasn't worth it. Probably double Cohort as the play, so I'd have another 1/1 sitting around here. Raise to the ground, 1/1, draw a card. Energy Refractor is the play. If I can shut off the Strong Bull, I can kill my opponents. They do have 1 mana up, that's enough for a Disfigure, but if they don't have Disfigure, they're super dead. And even if they do, I've got a Cohort here, which is lethal on board. We do play the Prison Sentence, that way we play around Disfigure, so now we kill them even if they have Disfigure in hand. Because they have no blockers. We've got a 5/4 on top of our library if something really wild happens, but they do not have a response. We are going to be 4-2 now, another positive win rate run for the Brothers War Early Access Drafts. Alright, here we are in Game 7. We are 4-2 now, so pretty happy with whatever happens from this point on. Very slow hand, but I'm still going to keep it. It's got great mana. We have double black, double white. Got a Cohort on 4, and we've got our best 6-drop, the Disciples of Gix. If we hit just a couple random early game plays, this hand could really pan out well for us, and we already hit an Ambush Paratrooper. And opponent doesn't have a 2-drop. Great start for us. Don't have to worry about early aggro stuff. Now we have double Disciple for late game. Got that on lock. 3 mana, Pristine Talisman from our opponent. They get to ramp up and gain life every time they tap that, which completely stops all of the damage my Paratrooper is going to do this game. Just makes it pointless. Cohort is on the board. Now, Visions of Phyrexia. What the heck is this? At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't play a card from exile this turn, create a tapped Powerstone token. So draw an extra card every turn, essentially, if you cast it. And if you don't, you keep getting Power Stones every turn. That's a very nice limited card. It's very good stuff, and I have no way to blow that up, and I have nothing to play this turn, so let's get 3 extra points of damage for 5 mana, putting our opponent down to 12. Opponent exiles a triple blue card, so at least we don't have to worry about them casting that. It's got a lot of text, and I'm not that worried about reading it right now, because it's super uncastable. Whoa, this is very castable and very bad for me. Oh my god. 5 mana for 3 2/2s with Trample Haste. Hey, Siege King Commander. Hey, Legions to Ashes, though. Wait a second. Wait a second. Who are you? Oh my god. Alright, that's actually sick. We found the use for Legions to Ashes. That's so funny. Oh my god. I would be salty if I were my opponent here. Like the one card in the set that's just an exact counter to the Skitterbeam Battalion. That was lucky. That was very lucky. We've got our opponent down to 8 now. They still have a lot of mana, though, when they're gaining life every turn. They have 6 mana for artifacts. If they don't have a good artifact to cast here, though, they can't do much. Obliterating Bolt to Cohort. Oof, that is not good for me. Exile the Unearth card. And they're going straight to the end step. Alright, we'll pop the Evolving Wilds then, and we'll play Disciples next turn. Set up a bunch of Unearth cards for a bunch of hasting aggressive threats to play next turn, and we have a 4/4 to attack with as well. Alright, Unearth for haste, Unearth for haste, and Unearth for haste. Last turn. Disciples is really quickly moving to like the top of my cards. This thing has been great every time. Very, very big enjoyer of the Disciples. I don't think I should be running 3. Drawing them in multiples is pretty bad, but even with not a massive amount of Unearth in this deck, if you just have enough that you can just mill 3 Unearth cards with Disciples, the card's just busted. So you only need like 5, 6 Unearth cards in the deck for it to be good. Because we only have like 4, I think, 4 or 5 in our deck. Yeah, it's just been great. Obviously, the second has been incredibly diminishing returns, which is why I don't think we actually want 3 copies, because that makes it relatively consistent that we're drawing 2, or at least we have been consistently drawing 2, and that's obviously not good. But drawing the first copy on a consistent basis is very, very good, so big fan of these Disciples. Ooh, Penrigan Strongbow can block as essentially a 5/6 with its ability, because you can tap the Power Stones to get the mana needed to use that ability, and then you can sacrifice them with that mana. I'm gonna grab another Plains because I have that one card that wants like a million Plains on our board to exile whatever we want. Prison Sentence is good, but fairly certain I'm just getting as aggro as possible here. I just go double haste and go for it. So they're going to block and kill Disciples. They're going to block the 4/4. So block, block. They take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go to 3 life. Yeah, this is definitely the play. Put them to 3 and we kill the Archaeologist. They do keep the Strongbow, but we put them to 3 here. And we're probably killing 2 of their Powerstone tokens. Even if we don't kill the Strongbow, we're lowering the amount of artifact mana they have here by a bit. Yep. We lose the Disciples, but we kill 2 of the Power Stones, so they have less to work with the Strongbow in the future. They're down to 2 life. Next turn I can Prison Sentence plus Scrapwork Rager. Try to make that turn into lethal with 3 1/1s on board. Shouldn't be that hard. right? Because they have to block the Scrapwork Rager and 2 1/1s to live. So they need to be able to block 3 creatures to survive. So they need to play 2 more blockers this turn. Or if they kill some of my creatures, that works too. What is this? Oh, that's pretty big. I don't think they can cast that right now, though. They can barely cast it, but they can. Oh, they do a Pristine Talisman, so they'll be at 3 life, not 2 life, which does change the math quite a bit. In a way that I don't like. They're going to leave all of their mana up rather than casting the Blade Coil Serpent, which they did have exactly enough mana to play this, so that means there's some kind of instant speed interaction here, so we definitely don't go all in. That means they have a way to blow up the Paratrooper. Just kill that out of the sky. 8 mana. That's enough mana to activate the ability and then still emergency weld it back into hand to try to kill them with it next turn. They're going to kill Paratrooper. If I do this, I don't have the 5 mana to activate that anymore. I guess we just make them have it, see what trick they're going to use on Paratrooper here. Actually, no, they have the Pristine Talisman. What am I on about? I'm going to play a 4/4 and emergency weld this turn. Sure, I'll just poke for 1. And then I'm just going to emergency weld back my Disciples and play another Disciples, I guess. Get another 4/4 on this board state. And I still have more 4/4s to play. Even if this one gets countered. Plus I get a 1/1 on the board, which makes it even wider. Scatter Ray. Did a Scatter Ray, and I don't know for sure, but I really feel like they have something to burn away the Paratrooper. Guess I couldn't find out unless I had 10 mana to double pump Paratrooper and threaten lethal. If I hit a land here, Unearth Rager, +1/+1, everybody attack all. Very likely to find lethal. Although I thought I was very likely to find lethal last turn. Opponent's getting a lot of places with his Visions of Phyrexia. If it weren't for that, I think we would have got there by now, but it has been putting in a lot of work. Okay, we do hit the land, so if I Scrapwork Rager, buff Paratrooper, my whole board state has +1/+1, and they can only block 3 creatures. They block Paratrooper, Rager, and a 2/2, and they take 4 damage. That kills them on board, we just go for it. And we see what their burn spell is here. Lauren is a beautiful draw. Actually, I don't have any artifacts in grave yet. Never mind, all my artifacts are exiled. Lauren is not that crazy. Alright, block there. Block there. Block there. Put them to dead on board. We kind of got to go for it. Unleash the shell. Alright, they go to 1 then. And they still have that Pristine Talisman. The Pristine Talisman's put in so much work too. That's another card. If they didn't have Pristine Talisman, they would have died a century ago. Yeah, brutal. They just have like fully stabilized now. I can't break through 3 creatures. That's probably just it. Yeah. Opponent drawing 2 cards every turn and gaining a life every turn is just too much to break through here. Maybe I missed lethal somewhere here. We could have found some tricksy way to get them dead. But it is what it is. Looks like it'll be a 4 and 3 here. Opponent still has to play it really safe, so they're going to take some very long turns thinking it out, so I might scoop. Generally try not to scoop in the early access, but I don't think there's anything in our deck that's going to find the win quickly anymore. And again, our opponent is just guaranteed to win the long game. Stabilizing pretty hard. I mean, they have 12 cards in their deck. Visions of Phyrexia is not a May ability. They do have to find a way to kill me. And I guess this is the last game of Magic, whatever happens here. Now they're drawing an extra card a turn as well. We are dying way faster than they're milling out, though. 6 damage in the sky. Mishra's Juggernaut, sure. Just a land for us. Alright, I can Disciples to put whatever I want in my grave and then Lauren to pick it back up. So Helm of the Host and then Lauren it back. But I probably just die next turn. Yeah, I'm dead on board. I'm dead on board. That's unfortunate. Because this would have been really cool. Disciples into Lauren combo. But I'm dead on board because of their just infinite supply of mana rocks from Visions. The Strongbow attacks for 10 by itself because they sack 2 mana rocks. Or not 10, 7 by itself. They sack 2 mana rocks, which deals 2 damage to me and gives it +2/+0. So, we're dead to Strongbow. That was a really good comeback from our opponent. Some really, really massive work done by Visions and Pristine Talisman this game. 4 and 3. This deck was a huge overperformer. I thought this deck looked like nonsense. Obviously, we did win, I think, 2 games off Helm of the Host. But I thought this was like an 0-3 looking deck, but Disciples was really, really good, and just a random Unearth value is pretty good in the first place. So, happy with the record overall for sure. All right, 4 and 3 it is. That is going to end today's draft. Not super duper excited about any individual cards in this deck outside of Disciples of Gix, so not a whole ton to talk about here in the post-game review in terms of over and underperformers. I did like the Lauren plus Disciples of Gix combo. I didn't even think of that. Actually, I probably could have won that game because I totally forgot. If I just played a Disciple earlier, I could have put any artifact in my grave and picked it up with Emergency Weld. So I could have maybe had a Helm of the Host earlier where it might have mattered. Or just like a Goring Warplow or some nonsense, because I only needed 1 more damage somewhere in that game. So I probably could have won if I realized, if I remembered, Emergency Weld is not even straight up a Gravedigger. It's also just any artifact. Pick up Helm of the Host. So played that second Disciples a little earlier than I did for Emergency Weld that I had there. Or grab a Helm of the Host, something like that. That would have been pretty cool. So, yeah, some of that could have definitely been played better. It's day 1 of the event, and I'm starting to get pretty tired. It's been 7 hours of Magic at this point. But I've got 1 more draft to record. We have 2 more days until the launch of Magic Arena. Wow, I'm really... tune in for tomorrow's Brothers War Early Access draft, because it's going to be... It's going to be a banger if my brain keeps it up at this point. It's going to be a nonsense pile of 5-color stuff that makes no sense because I cannot formulate thoughts and sentences at this point. It's been a lot of Magic today. Completely sidetracked by all the brain farts there, but yeah, been a very, very long day of Magic, but I'm super into the Brothers War draft format, and I'm super excited to play more. I'd like to thank Wizards of the Coast once again for allowing me access to this early access account. Everything you see me playing with today was provided to me by Wizards of the Coast. There is your disclaimer, but that's going to end today's video. I am going to record 1 more draft after this, because tomorrow, Brothers of War will still not be on Arena. The day after tomorrow is when it will be. So Gonna record one more video. You're gonna have another video tomorrow of the Brothers War Early Access Premier Drafts. And then we've got the Brothers War set launch for everybody on Magic Arena, where I'm gonna get into it, get competitive, be well rested and well prepared to be as knowledgeable and understandable as I can be in those drafts. But for tomorrow's draft, it's all out the window. My brain is mush, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you want to see some more of these videos, you can like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some more of these videos in your recommended feeds. We have great stuff on the horizon. Brothers War Early Access Draft, the final one tomorrow, and the full set comes out the day after that. And then there's a Brothers War Arena open at the end of the month. Super, super cool stuff for this super, super cool format. Plenty of videos in the near future. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.